Welcome to TTTC Interview. I'm your host, Carter Sullivan. Today I have two Vietnam War veterans with me, Tim O'Brien and Jimmy Cross. Thank you guys for your service and for coming out today. First off, guys, tell me about yourself. Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I grew up in a small farming town, about 8,000 people on the southern border of Minnesota. I grew up in a home where the school was prioritized, of course. I played hockey and baseball, but I was never really into that. As a teenager, I worked hard in school and loved to read and write. During summers, I would work at the new fashion pork all day, long butchering pigs to make money.
I grew up on the East Coast in a town close to Trenton, New Jersey. My father was the owner of a sandwich shop, Jersey Mike's, that me and my sister grew up working in. In the summers, I would play ball with the neighborhood kids all day long. In high school, I played baseball and managed the girls' volleyball team. This is a fun time in my life.
What was your reaction to being drafted into the war?
I was really torn going to war. I was 21. I had just graduated from McAllister College in Minnesota. I had just received a full scholarship to go to Harvard for postgraduate studies. It seems funny now, but I felt I was too good to go to war. I was eager to get started on my life, and I didn't feel I should be caught up in the war we shouldn't have been fighting for in the first place. I drove up to the border of Canada and spent a few days there. I was less than 30 yards from fleeing to Canada. What I came down to, stupidly, was a sense of shame. Hot, stupid shame. I did not want people to think badly of me. Ultimately, I knew I would have to give up everything in my life to go to Canada, and I would be known as a coward forever.
I had just begun talking to this girl, Martha. She also went to Mount Sebastian College in New Jersey. I had only known her a few weeks before I was drafted. Before I went to war, I went home to be with my family. I knew I had to go. If I tried to flee to Canada, I knew it would hurt my dad's business, Jersey Mike's. I felt anxious to leave. I feared for my life and the life I was leaving. The days before you leave are some of the toughest days of your life. Your family is trying to act like everything is all right, kind of like leaving for college, but deep down, everyone knows you may never come back. I sat at home and dreamed of the life I would live if I survived the war. Marry Martha, have kids, and grow old.
Did you guys carry anything special? And what is the significance of carrying these special objects?
I carried a small rock, or a pebble as some would call it, around with me in my mouth. I also carried pictures of my girlfriend. The pictures were very important to me. The first was a Kodo Cooler snapshot signed Love. Though I knew better, she stood against a brick wall. The eyes were gray and natural, her lips slightly open as she stared straight at the camera. The pebble was the most important thing to me for sure. It never left my side. It was a simple pebble, an ounce at most, smooth to the touch. It was a milky white color with flecks of orange and violet, oval shaped, like a miniature egg. In one of the letters, Martha wrote that she had found this pebble on the Jersey shoreline where the land touched the tide, where the things came together. She said that she carried it around in her breast pocket for several days. It was so close to her, it felt like she was right there with me.
Well, as you just heard from Jimmy, a lot of us carried around things that we wanted to be able to remember and hold close to us during these hard times in our lives. But for me, I had more of a mental weight that I carried around. I thought long and hard about people of my hometown. I thought about death and what it was like to die. When I was just 9 years old, I fell into love with a girl. I just loved her. Even then, at 9 years old, I wanted to live inside her body. I wanted to melt in her bones, that kind of love. I didn't understand it then, but Linda was very sick and ended up dying shortly after we went on our first date. Ever since then, I've carried around all the memories of her. It slowly has become less and less realistic, but to me, it's the same Linda, and I know she has still waited for me to meet her again.
What does the impact of death have on a person during and after the war?
Death is definitely one of the hardest things mentally on a person during and even after the war. Life is so fragile during the war. One decision, one small mistake or lapse of focus could have deathly consequences for you and your brothers. When I think back to the war, there were different ways people reacted to death. First, when a man died, there had to be blame. Well, you could just blame politicians, generals, or even nations. Someone on the battlefield caused the casualty. Second, there are different ways of coping. Everyone needs a different way to wrap their mind around what just happened. In my platoon, guys like Rat Kiley would bend over the corpse saying, "Give me 5." It lightened the mood, for them at least. Lastly, you can't just forget about death. I still have thoughts and memories and vivid detail about the man I have killed. Even after the war plays over and over in your head on replay. Death and the dead definitely have a large impact on you as a person and always will, even after the war.
When you're at war, you see a lot of death. You see friends get killed, enemies get killed, and even some civilians get killed. But the worst feeling is knowing you're responsible for someone's death. I was responsible for Ted Lavender's death. It was something that would never go away. I would never forgive myself for what happened, and now I live with it. When I look back at the war, surprisingly, there were good times, but that sticks out in my memory more than anything else.
Well, that's it for TTTC Interview. Thank you again for your service and for coming out today. And we will be back after these short ads.